You are listening to the Love and Confidence Podcast, episode number 122. Welcome to the Love and Confidence Podcast. If you're a woman who wants to feel more irresistible, have more fun, and create deeper and more authentic connections, this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help you become the best and most confident version of yourself so you can attract the love life you desire. Let's get started. Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. I feel like it's been a long time since I recorded an episode, and that's because it has. I've been traveling a lot with my partner lately. And we went first to a short trip to Morocco, and then after that we traveled 9 days in Dubai and Oman. And I must say, I especially liked Oman. It is such a beautiful country with both mountains, deserts, wadis, beaches, and beautiful cities as well. And the people are very kind and very calm. You can just feel that there's a different vibe of no stress there. The only thing that was a bit weird was to travel in a country where I, as a woman, had to wear clothes that covered both shoulders and knees in spite of the weather. And we had around 34 degrees at some point. And also that you cannot kiss and hug your partner in public. You're not allowed to show affection, and they have signs showing that at entrances of malls, for instance. So that was a bit unusual for us, as we normally hold hands quite often, and it was difficult to get used to. I was about to forget it several times. Anyways, we had an amazing trip into the desert, where we also spent a night in a desert camp, and we got up really early in the morning to go and do a hot air balloon flight and to see the sunrise over the desert. That was just magic, really a fantastic experience. So probably the highlight of the vacation. If you ever want to go somewhere to the Middle East or somewhere a little bit exotic, I highly recommend Oman, and I highly recommend to go into the desert and try to fly a hot air balloon as one of the experiences. So now we're back in Paris and spring has arrived, which of course is really nice because I think the winter has been so long and we had so much rain. So today I wanted to talk to you about a topic that I think we don't talk about that much, which in a way is really strange as I see this all the time and I recognize this from myself as well. And that is women who have one or the other kind of fear of commitment. We tend to think that it's only men who have that, but think again, lots of women have that too. So if you ever found yourself craving love, but somehow you end up pushing it away at the same time, then this episode is for you. I will be walking you through the subtle signs of commitment fear and tell you how it shows up in your dating and love life. And also I want to explain to you the deeper reasons underneath why you might react the way you do, and then I will guide you to how to soften into love without abandoning yourself. So if you recognize some of this from yourself and you want to explore what love can look like and feel like without fear running the show, then I want to invite you to book a free call on the link in the show notes and connect with me so I can share with you how you can work with me and how I can help you. So first of all, how does commitment fear show up in women? How can you know if this is something that you also have? It's rarely as obvious as, I don't want a relationship. That's usually not what we think. For many women, it's more subtle and it shows up in patterns like some of the following. You could be hyper independent. You could be thinking, I'm fine on my own. And that can become a shield against intimacy. So something that you have developed out of a need, your independence, has now become a way to protect yourself against the closeness and the fear of losing that closeness that will always come with a romantic relationship. It's important to understand that for some of us, that independence was actually developed very early on. It was the principle of it's better to take care of things myself, it's better to only trust myself, I cannot rely on others, for instance. If that is something you recognize, you have learned that very early on, that could be the reason why you are today hyper-independent. So it can be this kind of independence that has its roots in a breach of trust in early life. And that's important to become aware of so you can better understand and support yourself when you gradually try to open up again. And I'll share more about that later. Another way it can show up is endless nitpicking. No one is ever quite right, and the bar keeps moving. If you keep finding yourself only doing first dates, again and again, you find a reason why this guy isn't right for you, why you don't even want a second date, why someone who's texting you isn't your person, and you can tell already now. These are all symptoms of fear of settling, which again is a kind of commitment fear. You are afraid to get stuck, to feel trapped with the wrong guy, and you are also not trusting yourself to be able to pull out of the dynamics when you realize that he wasn't right for you. So basically, you are afraid that it's going to feel too cozy and nice, and before you even realize it, you are attached, and it will be difficult to let go of this man, even if you know he isn't right for you. So therefore, you choose to be hyper careful and not even engage yourself emotionally with someone if you see just the slightest sign that he isn't the right match for you. It could also be showing up as dating unavailable men. So you are subconsciously choosing people who can't commit, so you don't have to either. In a way, it feels safe when someone isn't available, and a long-term romantic relationship is out of the question. It keeps you at a safe distance, and you don't have to worry about him getting really close and the risk of being hurt if he leaves you because he has never really committed to you in the first place. You are forever in a situationship. It's always light and non-committal. And even if you say you don't want that, you want a real committed relationship, the thought of something serious and long-term, it feels scary to you. Another way that your fear of commitment could show up is if you are idealizing freedom. You are equating commitment to being trapped, losing your freedom, or dulling your shine. Acting from the belief that inside a relationship you will have to overcompromise yourself. You will have to set yourself aside and always think of the other person's needs before your own. If you always focus on what you will lose from being in a relationship instead of what you will gain, and you believe that the freedom belongs to single life and you cannot feel free anymore once you meet a partner and commit on a longer term. It could also show up as emotional detachment, so you try to keep things casual, not fully opening up, even if you're dating someone in a bit longer period of time. Somehow you know that you're not giving yourself fully, but it doesn't feel safe to do so, and it's also so much easier to stay detached and just keep it open. Finally, it could show up as you thinking, I'm just too busy. You're filling your life with productivity, ambition, self-development, everything except space for love. If you tell yourself that you are too busy for a relationship, you are most likely lying to yourself. And okay, there could be times where this is actually true, but not over a longer period of time. It could also be that you tell yourself that you are just not ready, that there is a right time for finding love and that time is not now. And often, if you have commitment fear, you will say that you want love and deep down you do want it. It's not that you don't want it, but the moment that something real starts to fall, you feel the anxiety or some kind of resistance kicking in and urge you to push away the other person and sabotage the relationship. So what are then the reasons behind all that? Here I'm going to walk you through 4 different reasons. The first one is fear of losing yourself. Now, many independent women have worked really hard to become self-sufficient, and they fear that in a relationship, they'll have to abandon parts of themselves to keep love. It's the price they have to pay. Also, you might have past or childhood experiences that trusting someone and relying on them, that also comes with a price. You might get really badly burned or really disappointed. So it's like leaning towards someone just to discover that they are no longer there. So you want to take a moment and reflect and ask yourself, when did I start only relying on myself? What were my early experiences of trusting someone? The people I was supposed to be able to trust, did they let me down? And what was the experience of being let down that made me become so hyper independent? And do I really want to continue believing that I will lose myself if I say yes to love? Could there be a way I could still be true to myself? I could still keep my autonomy and be inside a relationship. Another reason that is coming into play here is subconscious programming. Now, what is subconscious programming? It is the set of beliefs or emotional responses and rules, so to speak, that we absorb from life experiences. So these patterns operate beneath our logical mind. They quietly influence how we feel, choose, and behave in relationships, as long as we're not aware of them. For instance, it could be if you have a history of enmeshment, in other words, a codependent family dynamics, where boundaries were unclear. You may have had to emotionally care for a parent or anticipate their needs and suppress your own desires to maintain peace. And then love became entangled with obligation, emotional labor, and loss of individuality. And as an adult, your subconscious tells you that closeness equals suffocation. So you protect yourself by staying independent, by keeping your distance, or choosing emotionally unavailable partners. Another reason that you have a subconscious programming could be a past toxic or emotionally unsafe relationship. So if you've been hurt before, you might tell yourself that you can't trust yourself to choose well. So this could be you had a relationship with someone who had a narcissistic personality style or who were emotionally abusive or manipulative. It could be you were in a relationship with someone who betrayed you or there was infidelity. And it could be that your partner was ignoring you. So after experiences like this, your nervous system might be hypervigilant. You do want love, but part of you stays on guard just in case. And intimacy starts to feel unsafe. So you will pull away, you will avoid commitment, or you will overanalyze your way out. Your subconscious programming could also be that you have witnessed unhealthy love when you grew up. And then you might think, I don't want the kind of relationship my parents had. Even if you then tell yourself, this won't be me, your subconscious have learned early on that love could mean control, self-abandonment, emotional neglect, or betrayal. So part of you avoids real intimacy, not because you don't want it, but because you never saw how it could work in a safe way. And the final example of subconscious programming, that could be if you just have limiting beliefs around love and men. So you have, on a subconscious level, thoughts like love means pain, men always leave, I can't trust anyone fully. And this could be a response to you experiencing breakups or betrayals, repeated disappointments, or watching loved ones who suffer in their love relationship. This can become ingrained into the subconscious, and while you consciously want love, it's almost like your subconscious is blocking. Everything is resisting in you, and your nervous system is guarded because you believe if you let someone in, you will suffer. Now, all these beliefs can block commitment, and it's not by rejecting the relationship outright, but it's by creating resistance and mistrust, anxiety, or disinterest once something real starts to form. So that was a lot of examples of subconscious programming. And then you also can have the fear of being seen or the fear of intimacy. Now, true commitment, that does actually require vulnerability. And for high-achieving women that are used to being in control, We are kind of used to having it all together, and we have really high expectations of ourselves to always do things right and be perfect and have things under control. And then the idea of letting someone truly see us with all our flaws and imperfections, that can be terrifying. What happens when he sees me on a bad day? What happens when he sees me when I'm tired or I am just not at my best? The fear of not being in control and potentially letting a man see a part of you that isn't perfect, that can feel vulnerable and triggering. And then, of course, the last reason is that we can be afraid of choosing the wrong guy. So this is always an issue, and especially for smart women, you know what's at stake, and you don't want to settle with someone who's not right for you. But at the time where you decide to give it a chance and see what you can develop together, you still do not know the guy well enough to actually be 100% certain. That takes a lot longer to know. And underneath that fear is a fear of regretting, a fear of losing time with the wrong person, or a fear of being trapped, so to speak, with someone where you are emotionally attached, but you know it's not right for you, this relationship. You want to get out, but it's difficult, and you're going to have to hurt his feelings as well as your own. So the fear of choosing the wrong person, or the fear of settling, that's also a big reason why you can have commitment fear. Now, how do you overcome it? How do you start to overcome a commitment fear? As it is always the case with problems involving the mind, which is basically most of all the problems we have in this world, we have to start by becoming aware. Awareness is the first step to even start to solve a problem. So you want to start by thinking about whether you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios. Do you have any of the signs of commitment fears? Is there something in the reasons or the psychology behind it that you recognize? Do you tend to tell yourself that you do want love, but then you always find a reason why it's not a good time right now, you are not really ready, or he isn't the right match? Or you always end up with emotionally unavailable men in situationships. If that is something you recognize, then you might have commitment fear. And once you have an idea of whether that is you and what is specifically coming up for you, then that is the time you can start working on it. And if I am to sum up, the way you can overcome your commitment fear is actually by working in two parallel tracks. And the first one is the mindset shifts. You want to work on your thoughts around relationships and commitment. And the other part is taking small steps at a time. Get your nervous system used to having someone close to you while you are thinking about commitment in a different way. So the first mindset shift that you want to work on is about how you think about commitment. If you have a lot of negative thoughts and almost this claustrophobic feeling coming up when you think of commitment, and you associate it with a loss of freedom, then that is a very good sign that you want to work on how you see commitment. It doesn't have to be a loss of freedom. It can actually be an expansion of yourself. So instead of thinking about a committed relationship as something that is trapping you into a cage, for instance, you can think about it as a garden. You can think about it as a space that you cultivate together with your partner. It's a co-created garden, and you can bloom in this garden. And you also want to think about it like this. You each have your separate life. You each have a separate garden, and then you have a common life. And so try to get clear on what you want to keep doing and cultivate in your own private garden and what you want to bring to the common garden. So it's actually really important for a healthy long-term relationship that you keep your individuality and autonomy. You need to have a separate life too. It's not just to soothe your fear of commitment. It's not just to overcome that. It's actually what will keep you balanced and resilient, and also keep the passion alive between you. It is what brings inspiration and novelty into a relationship, that you have your separate life too. Try to think of it as you each have your private or secret garden, and then you have your common garden. and everything you cultivate over in your secret garden will only contribute to a better common garden. And if you want to know more about what I mean when I say secret garden, you can listen to the episode where I speak about the secret garden. I forgot the number right now, but I'll put it in the show notes so you can easily find it there. The secret garden is actually a concept that Esther Perel speaks a lot about and that I feel very strongly about. And it's important, especially for strong, independent women, to understand and to remember that you can be in a healthy long-term relationship without losing your independence and your autonomy. It's a big misunderstanding that we need to be completely weaved into each other in every second of our life. The second thing that you can do to overcome commitment fear is you want to practice intimacy in micro doses. So when you meet someone, you want to practice opening up in small steps at a time and letting someone in emotionally. Be vulnerable with someone. And what you can do is you can practice with a friend that you are not that close to. So try to see how that impacts your relationship and try to make your nervous system more used to being open and vulnerable with someone. It can feel more safe when you do it with a friend and you just get used to finding things that you can share and that will allow you to open up in small steps. So almost like testing your nervous system's tolerance for intimacy. And you can see it as a muscle. Intimacy is a muscle and you get to train it bit by bit. You don't want to overdo it, but you have to do a little bit all the time. And this is also a very healthy way of getting to know someone. You want to give it some time. Don't jump all into it and have a date that lasts 2 weeks. Give it time. Have some space in between the dates. Practice slow dating. And get to know this person with your mind before you allow yourself to make a too big emotional investment in them. The second way you want to practice working on your mindset around commitment is when you start to open up in small steps, you want to notice your patterns. You want to see what's going on and be curious about it without shaming yourself. So if you find yourself backing away or wanting to back away and overanalyze what happens or becoming very critical, then try to pause, get curious instead of critical, and ask yourself, what is this behavior really protecting me from? What if I give this connection a little bit more time? What do I have to lose? And what do I have to lose if I don't do it? And I want to recommend that from the beginning, before you even start dating, you will make a short list of 5 qualities that you want in a partner and maximum 5 deal breakers. And so when you meet someone and you check that they seem to have these qualities and they don't have the deal breakers, then you want to promise yourself that you will continue dating them until you have a very clear idea of whether it's a good match or not. Not when it's a bit blurry and you don't have enough information, you don't have enough data, but you feel it's a little bit scary. Promise yourself that until you are absolutely certain, you will continue dating them if they have the qualities and they don't have the deal breakers. Because your brain can very easily come up with an excuse for why you don't want to date someone when it's actually really just an expression of intimacy fear. And if you decide that as long as a guy is compliant with the qualities and deal breakers, then you want to continue dating him, you can find a way to outsmart that part of your brain who is trying to protect you from intimacy and closeness. The next thing you want to do is work on creating a safe inner foundation. So this is all about trust and especially trusting yourself to navigate relationships wisely. If you can trust yourself that you are going to walk away from someone who's not aligned, then commitment becomes less scary. This is something I often see, that if a woman is afraid that it's going to be difficult to pull out of a connection, she's also afraid of even getting into it. And that is, of course, only natural. So you want to try to find a way that you can trust yourself to back out. And when you will evaluate whether you're going to back out, if at some point it turns out that he's not the right person, And I like it to be very concrete and practical, so I would decide on a number of dates or a time point where you will evaluate. So allow yourself, for instance, to go on 10 dates and then promise yourself that you're going to go on 10 dates and then you will evaluate. And if it's not a good match, you will walk away. And you also can, from the beginning, decide what makes him a good match, what makes him not so good match. For instance, it could be the situation where you, after 10 dates, you feel safe, you feel cozy with him, but you are not attracted to him, not the least. Or it could be the other way around. You're very attracted to him, but you feel so unsafe with him. Those could be some situations where you decide this is not a good match, and you write it down from the beginning, and then you check your list, and you see that this is what you promised yourself. If this is how you feel after 10 days, you will walk away. And so, of course, you're going to have to do that as well. But avoid the situation where you're constantly analyzing, you are constantly trying to make a decision, even when you don't know him yet. And the final advice that I want to give you is something I have been talking about a lot in past episodes, and that is to practice slow dating. Let the connection develop slowly. Give your mind and your nervous system time to actually get to know him and also get to feel safe with someone. You cannot have desire in a long-term relationship if you don't also feel safe. You have to feel safe as the foundation for any kind of desire and emotional intimacy. So 10 to 15 dates before you even can say if this is someone interesting, unless, of course, there's something that comes up in the meantime. You don't want to go on 15 dates with someone where there's a big red flag. Of course, you have to react on that. But if he's the kind of person where everything seems to be going well, but you're just a little bit unsure about him, give him 10 to 15 dates. And I would say you are not in a hurry when you're looking for a serious long-term relationship. You do have the time, and any kind of urgency is actually a red flag. It can also take so much more of your time if you only do first dates because you find a reason to stop it. You find a reason that this is not the good match, this is not the good time, you are not ready, or whatever comes up, then in the end you can actually keep yourself single for a very long time. So it's a good investment of your time to try to get to know someone a little bit better before you decide. And also, it's just a really good dating practice to do that. So this is what I had for you today, and I hope you found it useful. And if you feel that this is something that comes up for you and you want to have my support, I invite you to book a free call on the link in the show notes. I would love to talk to you. And I want to say to you that this is something that I have struggled with myself. I have had troubles letting someone in, like really on a deeper level, trusting someone. I've always been hyper independent. And it was not before I learned about coaching that I actually could see that and start to work on that. So this is all work that I've done inside myself. It's not actually because of my partner. It's really some work that you can do on your own. You don't even have to be in a relationship to start doing this work. But I want to also share with you and everyone who is a strong, independent woman out there that you can actually be in a committed relationship and still have your autonomy, still have a separate life. This is what I am doing today with my partner. We have each our separate life, and then we have a common life. And I could not imagine not having my own autonomy as well. I think it's really important. I think this is something that we are becoming more and more conscious about within relationship coaching, that we need each to have what is called the secret garden. We need to have something separate, and we also need to have something together. And it's actually a beautiful combination of those two that makes a relationship healthy and thriving and inspiring and work for people who are more used to an independent life, as I know a lot of you are out there. So don't believe that you have to compromise and you have to settle or you lose a part of yourself or your freedom or whatever just because you want love. It's not true. You can have it all. So this was it, and I want to thank you for listening all the way to the end. And don't forget, no matter if you're single or not, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are important in this world. Have a beautiful week. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.